Yo, what's good, everybody? Brent here. Hope everybody's having an amazing day. Sorry, let me take out my gum so I don't sound crazy on this mic, but hope everybody's having an amazing Tuesday. It is November 25th, 2 days before Thanksgiving. Pretty calm time in the market, but uh, gonna go over a lot of good stuff today. Obviously, talk about the Bitcoin kind of blueprint. As you can see here, I kind of have a few different scenarios lined up here. Um, we'll go over kind of the Bitcoin blueprint on kind of both sides, how both sides could play out on whether a bounce to all-time highs, what that would look like, and then if particular maybe longer extended correction as well. We're going to talk about kind of the areas of focus that I've been focusing on during this slow time. We'll talk about Monad on whether it's potentially something to pay attention to. They did an interesting, obviously, what's it called? Pre-sale through Coinbase, which I think is creating some interesting dynamics there. But usually we stream on Tuesdays and Fridays at 11. But today I wanted to try a bit different time later at night, trying to see which try out different times, see what's best for all different people, and it's try out different times. Probably later on, as later next year, I probably will do a few streams during the week later on. But anyway, let me know two things in the chat before we get started. One, where you're at tuning in from, and then two, if this is the first time in the chat, say first time. I want to see something. What's up, Called Kyle? What's up, Ash? What's up, Creed Luminous? Regrar? But yeah, like I said, pretty calm time in the market. Um, Usually like that within a few days of a major holiday, right? But honestly, that's honestly probably a blessing in disguise because I talk about this often. I talked about this back here when early November. When I thought potentially a Bitcoin could be forming a bottom before this bounce here at 100K. That if you look back simply, and I highly suggest that everybody takes the time to look back and study these past corrections as well as past bear markets, because charts, a lot of chart stuff, I think is kind of BS and not very accurate. But there is definitely clues. The charts, higher time frame charts, especially, definitely leave clues in structure and how these different corrections play out. Um, but if you look back at these past corrections, this one from 2024, the one from April, every correction ended with at least a couple weeks of consolidation, which is holding a certain low before it bounced and pulled away. Some holiday slow and boredom and consolidation is definitely be bullish. What I'm kind of leaning towards here with this current price action, and just overall, I think everything outside of this last few months or last few weeks of price action is extremely bullish. With the you know on poly market, as you can see, about a few weeks ago, the rate cut decision for a Fed rate decision or a rate cut in December was at like 30 or 40%, maybe less, a couple weeks ago. But since the job numbers started that released just recently came out bad, or essentially there's a loss of jobs. It's looking like very likely that the Fed will cut in December, and we've talked about this earlier on the streams. The more cuts that the Fed is able to do without something breaking, um, is bullish, and the quicker we get back to more stimulative and quantitative easing and all this good stuff that supports higher prices for risk assets. So this is extremely bullish. The institutional side for crypto extremely bullish. All these different other things that don't reflect in price right away. Pretty much, if there was a checklist for everything that's important in crypto, price being one of them, price action being one of them. You got institutional stuff, regulatory clarity stuff that's coming on with the Clarity Act. You have the macro side, like I'm talking about with the Fed rate decision. Essentially, if crypto had a checklist of like bullishness and bearishness, every other box would be checked except the price action is kind of like at a question mark right now. I kind of want to go over how I'm seeing just the charts right now for crypto, for Bitcoin specifically, because don't let anybody else tell you differently that Bitcoin drives everything, right? From as low as like how the trenches are doing on like the Solana trenches, right? We see time and time again, Bitcoin is healthy and trending to the upside. The Solana trenches are healthy. All these different areas of crypto are healthy. When it's correcting, it's the opposite. The trenches dry up, meme coins aren't running, nothing much to do. So that's why I go over so heavily and talk about Bitcoin during these times, because it really is the guide for the entire crypto market. So the way I see it is, again, if we go to the higher time frames first, um, the reason why this correction is all very interesting and isn't exactly is I'll say looks a lot different than the correction that we saw in April and the one that we saw in 2024, is that these moves down in 20 or in April, for example, we got a quick move down, chop sideways, and moved up. Um, on in 2024, we got a move down, chop sideways. On both of these prior corrections, the moves down are very shallow or very quick at least, and then we got some quick bounces. As you can see here, this move down from 126 all the way down to 80 was like a 30 or 40% move in a matter of 3 or 4 weeks, which created the biggest red monthly candle. It's kind of hard to see with everything on here, but the biggest red monthly candle that Bitcoin has seen during this bear market. I'm sorry, during this bull market. So when you see that, I definitely take caution to the fact that this correction we're seeing on Bitcoin prior to a couple weeks ago, it was on point with these other corrections. But I'd be lying if I tell you that this correction here the last month is definitely different than these past corrections and more impulsive in nature. And like I always say, the biggest thing that marked the 2021 top was how impulsive Bitcoin was. It dropped 50% in a matter of weeks. So this move down is 30 or 40% down in a matter of 3 weeks. So is a lot more like the cycle top of 2021, where it got very impulsive in nature. With that being said, that is one piece of information alone and doesn't mean that Bitcoin continues lower from here, just alone, right? Um, I think we have to see, first of all, if we go down to the lower time frames, we've been consolidating here for 5 or 6 days. Like I said, the longer Bitcoin holds this certain low at 82K, the higher chance is that we're seeing at least a local bottom that produces a big bounce. So a couple days or a couple weeks, even more so, if Bitcoin, I'll kind of just redraw this here. Um, if Bitcoin is able to hold 82K, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It could very well do something like this where it breaks and just continues to chop for a bit. But is able to do that and moves up and bounces. Um, I think something like this, whether it be straight from here, goes down a little lower, I think we're bound very likely for some type of bounce. Now, if we go to the daily time frame, really what I'm looking for on this bounce here is first for it to be very impulsive in nature, right? Just like I said, this downside move is very impulsive. Um, I would like to see this move up be very impulsive as well, just like we saw in this past correction. When it comes out of these corrections, it's very quick. Instead of being very choppy like the corrections, the impulses, which we're all trying to catch, are very quick and fast in nature, right? So I'm expecting, again, especially if Bitcoin can hold this low here at 80K, some type of bounce. And if that bounce is impulsive and strong in nature, one, that's the bullish sign number one. Two, the biggest thing I would like to see, and the biggest dead giveaway or the biggest confirmation, the higher time frame confirmation that we see on both the 2021 cycle top and these corrections in the past corrections, is what Bitcoin does. What Bitcoin does on this second bounce, on whether it uh, what it does towards this red 200 moving average here. You see this red line? I'm sure people who don't use moving averages, this might be confusing, but if you look here, moving averages essentially track the average price of a certain coin or for asset over time. The way I use it as a way to track momentum. Um, every time, as you can see here, a lot of times you hear people talk about the death cross, where the 200 EMA will cross the 50 moving average, like I have here. Once that happens, um, during these corrections, either Bitcoin crosses back over that 200 red moving averages and goes back to all-time highs. That's what we saw in this April correction. That's what we saw in 2024. Once price crosses back above that 200 red moving average after crossing to the downside, usually that right there is that final confirmation that the bull market's kind of back. But what did we see in the 2021 cycle top? Bitcoin came back down under that 200 moving average, bounced back from 30,000 to 47K, hit that 200 moving average. But what did it do? It failed to break. And what did that lead to? It led to a move back down another 30 or another 75%, really, before it eventually found its bottom in 2023 and moved back up. Now, I don't really see a possibility where we get a 75% move down from here. But as you can see here, this 200 moving average oftentimes shows where Bitcoin is going on the higher time frames. And what I'm going to be looking for is that, one, I'm extremely bullish on the short and really long term and midterm 100%. I think there's a lot of reason to be bullish on the short term price action as well, with what I'm showing you, this consolidation. But what I kind of want to see as a final confirmation on the higher time frames is Bitcoin explode back up and trade back above this 200 red moving average, just like we saw in April, just like we saw in April, just like we saw in 2024, just like we saw here in the correction of 2023. Price moving back above that 200 moving average is what was that final confirmation and what separates it from something like that 2021 top. Okay. So I know that was a lot of information at once, but if you want to go ahead and set these moving averages up yourself on your charts, on TradingView, you can go to indicators, type in moving average, simple, and then you click the moving average and you just go ahead and change it to the 200, and then the 50 is the blue one I use. Again, the way I use them is to just track momentum whenever price on the higher time frames especially moves back above the moving average. I use it as another essentially point of confirmation. And again, I don't really use these moving averages unless we're in a higher time frame correction. I don't really use them for lower time frames too much. But yeah, I think these moving averages historically, they're not magic, but they've been very true, and held pretty consistent on the higher time frames and where the price is going. Again, we want to see this 200 moving average on this next bounce. Price move back above that 200 moving average. And I mean, if you're trading leverage, for example, of course you want to be careful right now. I don't think leverage is just not necessary. You can buy a bunch of these great coins, great discounts right now. But let's just say you're a leverage guy. The way I would use this, maybe the moving averages, is once the moving averages cross, Bitcoin goes back above that moving average, potentially set a long trade with a stop loss back below, to where even if it were to wick below, or not wick below, trade back below the moving average, it's a pretty tight stop. You're able to be very picky with your trades and get some pretty optimal trades instead of just blindly taking them, right? And as you can see, if it really is the final move, if you were to take a trade off that moving average, oftentimes it just rips and impulsively never goes back. But again, these trades only happen once or twice a year. But yeah, I hope that if you haven't used moving averages before, hopefully something to add to your repertoire. I use moving averages over the years, on the lower time frames, but watching Ben Cohen, I don't know if you guys know Ben Cohen, very sharp guy. Just watching a lot of his stuff recently, and this is not him. Why is he not coming up? Is bro shadow banned? Let's see. Am I spelling his name wrong? Um, is that him at the top? Oh, here he is. Okay. Ben Cohen, smart, really sharp dude, been really on point this cycle. And just watching his stuff kind of made me um, really want to start using the moving averages again, and really on the higher time frames again, because in these situations, how the accurate it was in this 2021 top, just to give us more confidence and more confluence on this next move up. But really, I'm extremely bullish on all time frames for Bitcoin. Like I said, I do think we get that short term bounce, but I really do want to be a little bit more objective here, to where I'm extremely fucking bullish on all time frames. Like I said, I think this next leg up for Bitcoin, whether it happens from here, I think. Sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. Whether it happens from here, which there's a really good shot of happening, I think, or we do get that move up. Really, how about this? What would the move down, what would a failure or another move down look like on Bitcoin? I think would look similar to like 2021, right? Where we get a big bounce, everybody gets super bullish again, but price fails to break that 200 moving average and we start heading back down impulsively. So what would that look like is, again, very likely more of a choppy move up between here and maybe 100, 105K. Bitcoin fails to break that moving average and then just starts to go down. Really, worst case scenario, if that happens, guys, we're literally talking a matter of months, to where, even if we go to up in March or April of 2026, the way I'm treating this is I'm DCAing right now into great coins, which we're going to go over some of those in a second, what I've been looking at, or what I've been buying. But DCAing into great coins as if this is the bottom here, while still keeping some dry powder, and with the understanding that if Bitcoin were to fail to break the 200 moving average and give us another low, that would just be more opportunity, and obviously, honestly, just a matter of time. I think crypto is in the ultimate sweet spot where it's literally made it. It's on the verge of countries buying Bitcoin and talking about it. Sovereign wealth funds. I don't know if you guys saw today. Texas actually, they didn't just keep the Bitcoin that they have from criminals. They actually bought Bitcoin with $10 million in the treasury. Right? You don't even have the U.S. doing that yet. So you see stuff like this bubbling. I think crypto, whether it rips up straight from here back to all-time highs, which I think is very possible, or gives us another leg down into early 2026. Looking back 2 to 3 years from now, if this next leg gives us 200K Bitcoin, we get mass adoption, we get all these great things, institutional adoption continues to grow. Um, will we really give a fuck? Really care whether we had to wait, whether Bitcoin bottomed out at 80K and we went all-time highs in January, or if it came down to 72, 72, 73, 65, and then went up in June? Personally, I see, I think the writing's on the wall for, especially the institutional stuff, but really movement memes, NFTs, all this stuff. I think it's obvious where the world, the internet, everything's headed, to where crypto is just in that perfect sweet spot, to where they're telling us Wall Street, collectibles, all these different things are going to be put on the blockchain, but still prices are down for a time. And I think this is just the perfect sweet spot. And personally, I'm DCAing with the hope and maybe the hopium that we go straight back to all time highs from here. And I really think there's a good opportunity of that. I'm not sharing my screen again. God damn it. Um, I really think there's a good possibility of that. Like I said, the crypto checklist, if you were to look at everything, price action being at the top with the, in no particular order, the institutional stuff, macro, what's it called? What else am I missing? Macro, the regulatory stuff. All of those boxes are checked, extremely bullish. I think it's just like a kind of a question mark in that price action box for the short term. So again, super bullish on all time frames. We just got to see what this bounce, what it gives us. I think maybe a big thing to look around, and maybe probably will front run this decision, but on December 10th, 2 weeks from now, the Fed decision, if this thing ramps up to 95%, it looks like we're for sure going to get a cut. Um, I wouldn't be surprised to see the markets really front run into, with a bounce into that Fed decision. And in that case, we really got to see again what that bounce does. Hopium, I'm really, really good chance I think that it does rip back to all-time highs. But for those of us who want to be a bit more objective into really maybe, you have long positions or you're looking to potentially short, you're somebody who likes to do that. What I personally would be looking for is how Bitcoin behaves trading back up to that 200 moving average. And I suggest everybody go ahead and look and study these things. Don't take my word for it. But yeah, we are 21 minutes in. I went on a little bit of a rant here, but I'm going to go ahead and check the chat before we look at some other charts. What's up, Wayne? Nice to see you, brother. What's up? Second time. Wilson, North Carolina. Shout out North Carolina. I've been to South Carolina, but I have not been to North Carolina. I am in the west coast of the United States. Since everybody can see my location in my bio now. No, I don't think there's any mystery. I'm on the west coast of the United States, in California, actually. So it is 6:23 p.m. for me. Like I said, if you guys are just hopping in right now, if you could like, comment, retweet, share. We're just going over some Bitcoin charts. Going to go over exactly at least what I'm doing and what I've done during these past times to really dominate or do really well on this other side of this correction. We went over a bit, a few different scenarios for Bitcoin heading into the end of the year, which we'll go over more of that in a second. But if you're just pulling up here, if you could, like I said, comment, share, all that good stuff, and also let me know if it's the first time in the chat. Always love to let me know if it's the first time in the chat and where you're tuning in from. But what's up, Rhaegar? How are you doing? Cody Bryant, Creed Luminous, what's up? Kyle, Twinkie. What's good, brother? What's up? What's up, everybody? But yeah, I think Bitcoin setting up for a bounce, especially if we get a couple more weeks of holding 80,000, 81,000. And yeah, I mean, this boredom again is, dude, trust me, I would love nothing more for there to be at least some activity on meme coins, something, some outliers. But the boredom, the consolidation is what's marked the end of all of these corrections. So whether it's from here or we move a little bit lower, that's typically what we see at the bottom of these corrections, or any correction really, is some type of extended multiple weeks of consolidation. Very rarely does an asset on the higher time frames just V bottom. For those of you guys who don't know, V bottoms are essentially where the double bottoms, these consolidations that I'm showing you here, typically are a W bottom, where price will go up, retest the bottom, and then head up. A V bottom is what it sounds like, where it's just a V instead. Probably the most famous version of a V bottom of the last 5 years is crypto, which is COVID. Whereas on the higher time frames, it's in a bigger correction. On like the daily chart, Bitcoin literally came down. What was this? Like 75% in a matter of 3 weeks. And instead of consolidating for like 2, 3, 5 weeks, it literally just rocketed back up. I think it literally left, if I see here, scroll back a bit. It literally left, can't go back. I need to, I don't know how that didn't. I need to refresh that. Won't let me go back that far. That's embarrassing. I'm on the 4 hour anyway. Okay. If you look here, it was down here for a matter of like 3 or 4 days before going up. Very rarely is something going to happen. It takes something like COVID and then printing trillions of dollars for something usually like that to happen. So while we could just rock it up from here, what would be even more of great confirmation that matches up historically with these past corrections is some type of holding of 80K. If it got real boring here, even though that, it's not fun, that's what we want to see essentially. So yeah, I think Bitcoin gets a bounce here. We want to see it trade back above that 200 moving average, or else could get another rollover into the end of the year. But I mean, I think the writing's on the fucking wall. This is the time you want to double down. If you have dry powder, be DCAing great coins. Really, it's cliche, but that's really the Twinkie says K4. You're in Nigeria. Welcome, India. First time from Sydney. Stuart Darby. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you. But yeah, let's go ahead and go to ETH really quick as well. Essentially, these big majors are going to follow the same trajectory for the most part. ETH is actually a little bit more impulsive already, and ETH could very potentially be the one that does form a V bottom. But typically, what we want to be seeing, and what would be even more confirmation on the lower time frames, is if Bitcoin were to just chop here above 2,600 for maybe another week or two. That would be even more confirmation. Rip higher. Again, same thing for ETH, guys. You can use the 200 moving average. The good thing about the ETH chart is the 200 moving average is way lower. So it doesn't, as you can see here, the price doesn't have to move up that drastically to start trading above that 200 moving average. So I mean, if you go to the daily time frame, same thing here for ETH. As you can see here, this 200 moving average, historically, even so far as back as 2023, every time Bitcoin crossed back the 200 moving average, the 50, which is the blue one, and the 200 crossed, which a lot of people like to call the death cross. Um, Once that happens, once price consolidates, as you can see here, and moved back above that 200 moving average, almost as you can see, as when it did it here in 2023, price continued to just rip back, never came back, and just literally just formed another impulse to all-time highs. Okay, so these moving averages, while they're not perfect, you definitely don't want to use them alone to just be like the holy grail. It's definitely not that. But if you see consolidation, you see positive things happening outside of crypto and all these other things, and then the 200 moving average, that checks out. It's a great, as you can see here, a great kind of extra confirmation on top of everything else. And I expect, like I said, ETH a little bit better here because the 200 moving average is a lot lower, talking 20% below price, whereas Bitcoin 200 moving average is, about 15. It's about the same percentage wise, but again, it's Bitcoin, so it looks a little different. But well, let me see, 34 and 29. Oh no, that's like 12-13%, where Bitcoin's like 20%. So same thing for ETH though. Chop out a little bit. If ETH is able to trade back above this 200 moving average, almost always, like we said, very likely we're just going to continue to go back to all-time highs. And ETH is, I think is the biggest amongst the top five, the one that I've been loading into heaviest, and really where my portfolio, like the more investor bucket part of my portfolio, is really sitting in is Ethereum heavily, is because I think it's, again, like the sweet spot thing. Wall Street has essentially told us that they want to put Wall Street, most of it, a lot of it on chain, most of the financial world. And they've said, most of these institutions is they kind of put Ethereum, at least right now, above the rest because of their, really because it hasn't gone down. There's been no downtime, whereas Solana and a few of these others have. I think it's obvious Ethereum's going to see mass adoption under all-time highs. I think once it breaks the psychological barrier of 4 or 5 years, whatever this is, 4 years, and breaks above that all-time high, I think it's going to be a big psychological barrier in people's minds. And I think ETH quickly gets, towards a lot further towards 10K than it is now. So, I'm extremely bullish on Ethereum over time. And if it does get all bonds and collectibles and all these different shit goes back on chain, we could see ETH and, 5, 10, 15, 20K over the, coming years. If Wall Street and all this stuff does go on chain. So I really like the way ETH looks extremely corrective on the higher time frames. Sol, same kind of thing. Don't want to overcomplicate it. If Bitcoin and ETH go up, so too will Sol. I mean, Sol, you could argue, is probably the cleanest higher time frame correction of them all. Been pretty choppy and coiled, before this final move down. And the way I see it is 1, 2, 3 lows in this corrective channel, which usually 1, 2, 3, between 2 and 4 lows in these corrective channels before they head higher. So again, same kind of thing with Sol. Very bullish. The bull case for Sol would be, again, chop here for a little bit, move higher, trade back above that 200 moving average. And just like you said, just like ETH and Bitcoin, I want to just drill this in your guys' head so you see it. Once price historically essentially every single time that price has moved back above that 200 moving average after crossing with the 50, as you can see here, 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 every time it's traded back to all-time highs, or at least retested the all-time highs. And I think this time we're going to see um, not only that happen if we can move back above that, but once we do, whether it be from here or, worst case scenario, one more leg down, once we break back above that 200, I think Sol, Bitcoin, ETH, Sol's particularly, wow, that is ugly. Sol particularly goes back to all-time highs and heads back towards my $300 target for the early part of 2026. And it's tough to know what it's going to do after it's in price discovery. It's tough to know what this next leg of the bull is going to bring. But I'm extremely, I think there's a way higher chance now with all these great bullish things coming, or these things happening, and speculation really ramping up in society and gambling and all that, that there's a good chance that this next leg up for Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, majors, meme coins, especially, prediction markets, I think a very, very good chance that this is the strongest leg we've seen since this bull run started. I think it's kind of the perfect storm, and the fact that everybody assumes that there's no chance we'll ever get like an alt season or any of these type of manias like we've seen in the past. I think that makes it more likely that it's going to happen, right? It's not a for sure thing, but yeah, I think I'm extremely bullish on this next leg, and I think all this kind of chop and sideways and just boredom for meme coins and alts, and the fact that they're still here is going to lead to just an extremely prosperous period on the other side for the few coins and stuff that survived. So I think that's a perfect transition here to go into what will be those coins that survive, right? I think there's two clear areas that are both undervalued, extremely undervalued, with some great opportunities, that both of these lie on the kind of the complete opposite sides of the spectrum in crypto. Okay. Before I do that, I'm going to get a sip of water. But like I said in the chat, like, comment, retweet, share if you guys could. Plus, I'm going to go ahead and look at the responses. But if you're pulling up right now, let me know if this is your first time in the stream or if you've been in here, and then where you're tuning in from. But the two areas that I think are going to really thrive on the other side of this other side of this correction, is one, movement coins. I used to call them movement memes. They are obviously meme coins, but I really like movement coins that, again, are extremely community based. I actually talked about this today in this tweet, is that, pay close attention to what coins are up this week, right? Movement coins, again, movement coins, whereas alts, these different alts, DEX, Aster, Hyperliquid, Pump, all these different things are coins backed by some type of, revenue, protocol, technology, something like that. Whereas movement coins they get their value from the strength of the community. Whereas Dogecoin, ADA, even though it's not a meme coin, XRP, all these different coins that, yes, they have technologies. What is the reason that these coins went absolutely fucking nuts in 2020 and 2021? It wasn't because XRP had, good tech, or definitely not ADA, right? I don't know anything that was built on, the blockchain. These coins won in 2020 and 2021 because they had strong movements. I don't know if you guys were around in 2020, but like, it just blew my fucking mind how many people who knew nothing about crypto were just so enamored by ADA. Like, they don't know much about it, but there's just something, the way they market it and, whatever, this cult and this like community that they were able to build, that's what took it to, whatever. And, for these coins, it's different things. XRP, these lunatics think that, it's going to be the world reserve currency and all this different stuff. And I'm just playing. I really commend XRP people. They have the most conviction and stuff. And that's why a lot of these guys are able to take thousands of dollars and have millions of dollars in the coin now and whatever. But again, XRP, ADA, all these coins, you're not even meme coins. The reason they won in past years is because of the amazing cult and movement they've been able to form. And that's obviously really evident when there's really good conditions and there's a mania. But there's a select group of movement coins that I think are just pure movements. They're not trying to be anything they're not. They've have 1 to 2 years plus of time in the game, great supply distribution, have biggest thing, have survived these corrections before, that are set up in 70 to 90% corrections right now that I think are presenting the best ROI, the best, just best opportunities in crypto right now. And, I'm sure most of you guys already know a lot of these coins, Fartcoin being one of them. I already have it up. Um, and the reason I was talking about it earlier today is because, like I said, pay attention to the coins that have bounced really hard lately. Fartcoin 180 to 300, 320. Fartcoin doesn't need to drop some crazy, flywheel or do some revenue or report revenue numbers or anything for people to value it. There's just people who believe in the movement of fucking hot air rises. And I believe, again, Fartcoin, biggest thing is I already have it marked out here from a while ago. Fartcoin survived a 90% correction here, 5 to 60% one here, 70% one here, another 70% one here. I think this next time it's going to really rip above that all-time high and probably go to 5 to 10 billion. That's kind of my benchmark for a lot of these coins. I think most of them are not only going to bounce back, but reach 3 to 5, 10 billion on this next leg. And that's because, right now you hear a bunch of people say, oh, what community doesn't matter. Fucking price is down 80, 90%, which is understandable. But I think you got to zoom out and pay attention to more than just recent price action. And like I said here, the core community, like it doesn't seem like it matters at all right now because prices are down. But when conditions are good, having a core community of like SPX, for example, like having a core community of people are bag working all around the world 24/7, whether it be on Twitter or what SPX is doing here, guys. Like, I don't know if you see this. They have a bunch of people. Fucking, why is it not showing me him? Oh, like this guy. All these people from around the world willing to dox their face,
trading and believe in
and
something.
say like, stop trading, believing something like.
Good evening. I'd like you to stop trading and believe in something.
And
believe in something.
Just like you don't see many of these meme coins like have people willing to dox their face. And I know it's just coming from someone, who's anonymous for the most part. Like these people are like willing to dox their face. And it again may not seem like it matters right now, but when meme coins are strong again, crypto's conditions are strong again, your fucking cousin is asking about meme coins again. What do you think are the ones that are going to fucking dominate and go to 3 to 5, $10 billion? Is it the ones where, they just popped up last week or a coin that, has a few people who happen to be hot 6 months ago, but there's no core community? No, of course not. The ones that are going to survive are going to be the ones that right now are showing the most strength in community, the most people who actually give a fuck about the movement other than price. So yeah, I extremely bullish. SPX obviously probably being the biggest no-brainer. I don't know. I think these things easiest 10x's. And again, I think that's correlated to that nobody wants to touch meme coins right now. I know I sound like it's just not the popular thing to talk about, I think. But I just stand on it and I just continue to talk about these coins because again, they've survived these corrections before. And I think they continue to present the best opportunities, especially in SPX where yes, it's a meme coin. Technically it's a movement coin, but it's a $600 million coin to where if somebody wants to park 100, 200, 300K in this coin, they still can, with a ton of upside, I think, right? Versus something like a, $1-2 million coin. You can get a 1% of that at $10,000. But it's just a different game, right? And I think SPX has just that perfect risk to reward, in the sense that it's already down, 60, 75%, but is like a leader in that, category. I really like SPX, obviously Giga. Really, to me, I've really been focusing on 4 or 5, not trying to spread everything too thin. So really my really core ones and like the movement ones, SPX, Giga, MOG, USDUC, lower cap one. But But I mean, the fart coins, like I said, you got the trolls, you got, there's many good solid, there's maybe 10, 15, 20 solid Colts out there, movement coins. But yeah, can't really go wrong with those. And then two, the second side of this is the other side of the spectrum of crypto, which is more the revenue producing coins with flywheels. For example, the Asters, the pump funds, Hyperliquids, Uniswaps. These ones you should be very picky with too. Just like not all movements are going to bounce back and do well, not all flywheel coins are going to do well either, right? The number one thing you want to look for is protocols that people are using despite the token. Hyperliquid, Pump Fund, Aster, Uniswap. People are using these applications even if there wasn't a token. If they're producing real revenue, I think those are going to do really well. So I've been, DCing into obviously, I think the most obvious one is Pump, back all the way fucking down to the August lows here. I think probably this is the most obvious one in the flywheel one. If and when people start trading meme coins a lot again, I think the flywheel conditions in crypto is going to produce another run here for Pump Fund. So if it's able to chop here for a bit and then move higher, I really like for Pump Fund to make a big recovery. The way I played this is, again, if you guys were on the stream back with us a couple months ago, while everybody was kind of flooding this, it was extremely bullish for a lot of the reasons I just told you right now. The revenue flywheel, really the biggest thing for me is I've watched several interviews with Alon, which, talking about the anonymous thing, it's actually very fascinating. He's done all these interviews literally with like his PFP over his face and like a voice changer. But nonetheless, like, you really get the most nuggets from like watching, at least I have, from watching these like interviews with these founders sometimes. And it's clear that Alon is very purpose driven. Like, bro probably has hundreds of millions of dollars in, probably he's made from fees and Pump Fund, and then he raised another billion from that thing, and then he has a fuck ton of Pump coin. He could just chill and let Pump Fund do its own thing for the next, however long, and he could just go off into the sunset, not having to do shit. But it's clear if you watch his interviews that he is purpose driven and wants to build something that rivals Twitch and Kick and Facebook and Instagram and all this shit. And does he accomplish it? Who knows? But I think it's clear that that this guy has these bigger aspirations. And with all the resources in the world, I think with good crypto conditions, Pump Fund is a fucking no-brainer. So I really like Pump Fund. Pump here. Aster, another one. Hyperliquid probably being the top. Obviously 11 billion right now. It's a bit of a different risk profile. Why is this taking so long? But yeah, Pump, Hyperliquid, Uniswap. There's going to be a lot of these coins that pop up and start to add flywheels. Before I close this off, I know I've been ranting a little bit. I want to get back to the chat. The most anticipated and the ones I'm really excited for, as far as flywheel coins that potentially could pop up, are the flywheel coins or the revenue coins attached to the prediction markets. If and when Polymarket and or Kalshi drops a token, that's going to be huge. I think there's so many different ways they can integrate the token into Polymarket itself, as well as that flywheel. I'm assuming, I haven't really looked at how much fees Polymarket's producing, but if they're able to take a part of those fees, use it to buy back the token and burn, I think that's an crazy flywheel that could really track the growth of prediction markets in general. And I'm extremely bullish on that. As far as hype, nice little correction here forming, higher time frames. We could very well, what hype does here, very dependent on what Bitcoin does. So if Bitcoin wants to go up and top out one more time, we could get that low, one more low for Pump. And if you get, hype. And if you get any low under that 10 billion for hype, I'm definitely going to be a buyer. But ultimately, I think zooming out here, 6 months from now, we're going to see that very, very likely that this was just a correction for Hyperliquid. Pretty obvious, nice choppy coiled up correction so far on the higher time frames. But I think hype does very well, continues to do very well as crypto and perps and everything continue to grow. So from India, So many bullish news and chart is basically the only thing holding us back. Yeah, exactly. Troll is my top pick. IP rights, solid community on X, TikTok. Yeah, I think Troll is just like Giga. It's one of the few coins that is a movement meme, but also it's a movement meme, but also has a sorry, I was reading something. Also has a IP rights for its coin, so they could do something like Giga's doing, like the Giga Fitness. They just got into Walmart. Troll, I don't know if they can do products. There's just a number of things that, because they own the IP, that they can then do with the to produce products and other stuff, that content, maybe fucking animated series, I don't know, that attracts attention from outside. Because I think what I'm really realizing the last few weeks, guys, and what a lesson I'm really learning is something that Coop said here in this tweet. And this goes for crypto, NFTs, any of this Web3 shit, is the only way to grow in crypto is to go beyond crypto. Right? The only way to grow in crypto is to go beyond crypto. This goes for the industry in general, or just like maybe if you're a content creator or whatever. I think for the industry, like, the only way that crypto grows is that, and these different things grow, is they have to attract people, more people from outside this small, crypto cesspool, like of just like people who are, speculation and kind of looking for the same opportunities for a quick flip. The only way the industry grows in general is if they attract people from outside of there, especially for NFTs. This is something we're seeing extremely evident, in Pudgies and Apes, who bounced really hard this last year off of, airdrop news and these different Web3 type speculations. And then what did we see when all that stuff died down? They're all making new lows. And that's because people are coming to the realization that if all we're doing is doing things for the small group of people in crypto, there's going to be no growth. The only way that Pudgy Penguins, VeeFriends, Bored Apes, any of these NFT companies grow and the NFTs go up again is if they go outside of this small Web3 crypto Twitter bubble and bring in new collectors. That's what VeeFriends is doing. We're going to look at the end of the stream here, kind of an example of what VeeFriends is doing on Whatnot, which is a live shopping platform. For those of you guys who don't know, on live shopping, it's a phenomenon that actually it's a phenomenon that's actually very popular in China and other places. And for those of you guys don't know, for everybody probably knows that a lot of the big things in pop culture from around the world and the internet are coming from Asia lately. From Labubus to a lot of different things are coming first out of Asia. Live shopping has been huge in China, where essentially, like QVC back in the days where you could buy stuff straight from the TV. What we're doing now is they're mixing a social aspect to this, to where, Cool Kicks, for example, is a shoe store that's world famous. They're selling their products directly on Whatnot, which is a live shopping platform. So instead, it's direct to consumer in the most organic way. So you essentially go on here, live stream, and you can essentially sell products directly to the community and to your customers. And instead of them just going on a website and scrolling and seeing these things, they're able to. It's this whole social shopping experience, and it's already big in China, starting to pop up here in the U.S. VeeFriends, for example, is starting to. I'm trying to find the fucking video. VeeFriends, for example, has been onboarding a ton of people from Whatnot onto new collectors from Whatnot that have no idea about NFTs into the physical collectibles and actually into the NFTs as well. So my whole point in saying this in talking about that tweet is that the only way crypto in general is going to grow is that they go outside of this small crypto Web3 bubble. And I'm starting to realize that, and I'm loving crypto Twitter, and it'll always be my home for the most part, but starting to branch out in these other places. Because again, that's the only way we grow is if, we reach outside of crypto. But we'll watch this quick live shopping video.
Live social shopping is going to eat up the world next year. There are a lot of people making millions of dollars a month selling shit on social. For the people that are at 10K and like to sell stuff, live social shopping is the biggest opportunity in the world right now. 6 years ago, I was yelling at everybody to be on TikTok. Now everybody cries to me when they see me and be like,
Gary, I should have listened to you. Now everyone's on TikTok.
now I'm yelling at you to do social shopping. Either you're gonna listen or you're gonna cry.
So yeah, I mean, if this is something you're out there and you're selling stuff online or whatever, this is something you might want to look at. But the reason why I wanted to bring that up is I think, again, the only way any of these NFT companies or anything, the reason why prediction markets are going to be so massive and why the coins might do so well is because these companies, the ones that are going to do well, are the ones reaching outside the crypto bubble. Even if it's not popular right now and they're trying to attract new users and new collectors, those are the ones that are going to win. So yeah, let me look at the chat real quick. Troll. Yep. Troll. Yo, what's up, Akbar? Hold 10 billion fart coin. Hold the 10 billion. Yeah. But yeah, if you guys are just hopping on, we'll look at Kled right now too. But this is not normally when I do these streams. Usually we do these streams on Tuesdays at 11. But wanted to try a different time here. We're going to typically stick to that 11 a.m. time. But I just wanted to try this new time here. So if you're from Europe, Australia, Asia, and you're not normally able to tune into the stream, welcome. Let me know if this is the first time in the chat and where you're tuning in from the world. Thoughts on Kled? Swayze, I really like Kled actually as one of the few ICM coins. I'm not looking at it yet. ICM coins that I've actually studied and I really have some pretty good confidence in. For those of you guys that don't know, Kled is a company led by this guy Avi Patel. And essentially they're an example of a flywheel coin where I'm pretty sure that I know I'm going to butcher this, but they essentially sell data to different companies, who new GPS companies, different things. And I think half of the revenue that they get from these different contracts that they make with these different companies, half of that they're taking, or it's 25% or 50%. You can tell me, Shwazy, in the chat. They're taking and sending it straight back into the Kled token. So essentially, what these ICM coins are doing is, if they have a flywheel, right? If the company itself is successful, it adds direct value to the coin. It's not straight memetics like a movement may be. There's an actual direct value accrual straight back to holders. So I can tell you right here, Swayze, apart from anything I just said about the flywheel and all that shit, the chart looks very coiled up and corrective. I really like the chart. I mean, even though everything else, like this looks even more corrective than Bitcoin, it's come down very choppy. And what that tells me is that the flywheel is probably playing into this, but this tells me that even though price is coming down, that there's people accumulating heavy, or just accumulating. When a chart just is going straight down with straight red candles, that tells you that it's mostly sell pressure. There's probably very unlikely that big players are accumulating it. But when sell pressure is still there, but it's very choppy and slow, that usually means that there's big players or smart money or diamond or bigger holders accumulating. I haven't really looked at the holders or any of that, but yeah, I really like the chart, and I think it's one of the few ICM coins that seems like they're still sticking around. So this would be best case scenario for Kled, maybe a few more weeks of consolidation and then heads higher. Looks like a really good setup. Honestly, at 22 million, I think I'm going to add some exposure to this. I don't really have much ICM exposure, to be honest. Shwazy, let me know in the chat if there's any other ICM coins I should be looking at, bro. 3 a.m. here. Just woke up. What's your top 5 meme coins? Appreciate you for being here, OX, Unc Sam. Top 5 meme coins. For me, I like to call them really movement coins now. Movement memes. All of these were born meme coins. But to be honest with you, they're kind of ascended to movements. I don't view them as memes. Memes are kind of just singular in my head, really. are singular pictures, events, memes itself, people, which I think is limited. I think we've seen time and time again the biggest coins other than Doge, which you could argue Doge, the only reason it got to where it was at, guys, is because there was a movement behind Elon Musk, which is bullish, obviously, right? But I mean, we've seen time and time again the coins that do the best at the other end of these corrections are the ones that have strong movements, people are continuing to push, because again, it's not evident in price when price is down, but when price goes up and those diamond handed ass motherfuckers that were there buying during those times, those people are way less likely to sell quickly on the way up. They're more diamond handed, which oftentimes leads to big explosions on the other side. So my top 5 meme coins, OX Unc Sam, would be in the movement meme category. I don't think you need to overcomplicate it. SPX, I think easily goes 2x above its all-time highs, which would be a $5 billion market cap with a much higher ceiling, by the way. But even at just at $5 billion, you're looking at about an 8 or 9x, 10x from here. MOG being right up there with SPX, still a fanatic community of guys that are still going, as well as their, they got the ETF, application. You got probably number 3, Giga, movement meme, as well as their building movement meme. I forgot earlier, movement meme, with a strong movement behind it around fitness and masculinity and whatever the fuck else. It has a building a brand, right, with Giga Fitness. It's like more of a brand coin. And then 3, it's Giga Chat is one of the most famous memes. The actual meme itself is one of the most famous in the world. So you add all those 3 things together, I think Giga is another fucking no-brainer. And then number 4, maybe Troll. It's another great one. Same kind of thing as Giga. Then you got USDUC, obviously a much smaller one at 5 million. Still extremely bullish on great signs in that coin. SPX, MOG, Giga, USDUC, Troll. Like I said, there's a number of them. Also, 2 brand coins I'll throw in there. I think Rekt. Rekt is just like another in one of these categories where it's kind of an ICM coin because they have a company kind of around it. Where there's a bit of a flywheel, I think, maybe not, but they also have a NFT / strong movement community around it as well. I think Rekt is another fucking no-brainer right now at still down 90%. I think it does a Pengu type recovery like it did when it saw its correction. I mean, you see, it did an even bigger correction here last year around this time, and I think we're going to see a similar thing. I think Rekt moves back to all-time highs, and reaches back above $1 billion this time. Again, Rekt is building an insane brand where, they're already getting into, different convenience stores around the Midwest. A lot of these, positive signs to where if they do get a big drink, especially if they have some type of flywheel, whatever, continues to grow, I think the attention around the coin will continue to grow as well. So I think Rekt coin's great. Pengu, another one that's also kind of a meme, has a movement behind it, and then also a great operator. Obviously, same with Rekt, but same great operator in Luca. Obviously, this is a fucking brutal crash, like these things always are. But like we said, you just look further, guys. By the way, I drew this line here down when Pengu was down here, and obviously it didn't go all the way down there, but it followed pretty fucking on point. Pulled back at all-time highs. Guys, I think, again, the strong coins are going to fucking bounce back hard with Bitcoin. And right now it's just about finding those kind of outside risk bets that have fallen really hard but still have all the positive fundamentals going for them. And I think Pudgy, Pengu, and Rekt are a perfect example of that. So, yeah. If you even want even more confluence, you can throw on the 200 moving average on this bitch too, and wait for price to move back above. But me, I'm just been accumulating Pudgy and Pengu and Rekt. I mean, same way I played it last time, guys. If you guys were on stream, we were buying it on the way down. Despite all this FUD, it was an obvious fucking community strength and Luca and everything that they can just drive attention to it. Same thing here, guys. We're not even down as far. We're still 3x off those lows. I think next time on this leg up, breaks all-time highs, probably another one that goes to 5 to 10 billion. Again, movements are the move here, I think. So Pudgy, another one. So I think that I would say SPX, Giga, Mog, ticker Bitcoin, another one. Hasn't made a new all-time high in 2 or 3 years, but I think that's a feature, not a bug, when it does break the all-time high again, to where, okay, look at these meme coins. A lot of people just assume meme coins are just completely cooked, which, I mean, again, a lot of them are. But what I think once we do break this 2-year all-time high and people start to realize, oh, wait, these meme coins went through a 2 or 3 year fucking dead, or a 1 or 2 year lull and dead period, but still made all-time highs. Maybe these things do have some Lindy effect. Maybe these things do have some long-term potential. So while it's not a great thing that, whoever bought $225 million Bitcoin may have been holding the bag for 2 years. But again, if it's always bullish when a coin can go through it, or an industry or a sector can go through a 2 or 3 year lull period and then bounce back. That's incredibly fucking bullish. So yeah, really, really would like to see Bitcoin kind of hold this 50 million dollar low for a bit longer. And then, as long as it can send back above that all-time high, I think Bitcoin, a nice target for Bitcoin is 500 million to $1 billion. I think the NFT, the Sproto Gremlins, also adds to the, also will act as a bullish catalyst on the way up as well. Lots of great things going for Bitcoin. And then last, maybe FWOG. FWOG obviously got fucking hit really hard. Definitely not going to ignore that. Like, definitely this thing was at 400 million. But again, yeah, even me, you see me, I had this markup here. I had a lot of hopium here that I was going to bounce, but obviously it collapsed with everything else like Bitcoin. And I think, again, even though this does not look great on surface level, this absolutely looks terrible. But they are building the NFT collection. They're still showing that they're one of the few projects are intending to continue to build. If FWOG would able to bounce here for a few weeks and then moves back above this $26 million low, I think very likely FWOG could be one of the few that does bounce back. Again, it's never easy to reach back to all-time highs. Oh, my bad. Did I say 400 million? It reached all the way to fucking 700 million. So, it's a long way from all-time highs, but we've seen stuff like Nub, for example. Nub this year went down, not this year, but from 2024 to 2025, Nub went from 180 million all the way down to 3 million. So that's like 99% down, and then bounce back essentially 30x in a matter of 2 or 3 months. So while 97% correction for FWOG is not great, I like to look again. I think what's been my bread and butter the last year or so, and what's allowed me to catch a lot of these opportunities kind of with size while everybody's flooding them, is that I found myself getting very good at paying attention and identifying these different metrics that outside of price action, even though I'm a fucking chart fiend, I've gotten good at finding these different aspects outside of price action. For me, for Ethereum, for example, back when everybody was saying Ethereum's fucking dead, there's no reason you should be buying this shit. Everybody was shit posting about ETH on Ethereum. While I was enjoying the memes, I was buying the fuck out of ETH down here because, again, I looked outside of price action, which, to be honest, there was a lot of great thing going for price action on the higher time frames. Outside of price action, I saw, all these great institutions, BlackRock, fucking JP Morgan, Fidelity, these guys that aren't big parts of markets, but literally decide what's big in the fucking finance world. They're all screaming Ethereum, Ethereum, Ethereum. So while price was down, looking at those other aspects allowed me to really get very bullish on, on the coin before the price followed. I found myself really getting good at that, and I think for FWOG, for example, even though price looks terrible, there's a lot of great things that separate it on the outside, right? Again, they're building that NFT collection, which has a lot of attention on it right now. Could they parlay that into, good things for the coin? I think there's a good chance. It's not a for sure thing, but something I'm looking at. Did you already talk about Monad? No, I'm going to talk about Monad right now. It's actually a great point. You talked about it in Telegram. What about Valor? I don't really have a huge position in Valor, but I have been looking at it recently. Somebody brought it up. Valor price action is actually pretty solid. And I mean, if it's able to hold above 3 million, kind of chop it into this low, I could see it bounce back pretty hard. With that being said, that's literally strictly based on price action. I don't know really much of anything about the about the story, the fundamentals. I know people are trying to tie it to Trump, and usually when I see that type of shit, I just get like extremely like skeptical and just whatever. But strictly chart actually looks pretty bullish, bro. I'm back in Troll 2. Okay. Unstablio. Yeah, what's up, ads? Another reason why Kled looks interesting to me is because he can do mini airdrops via the app payout since it's a Solana payout. Chart has less sell pressure while continuously building hype Solana and airdrop, which is also scalable. The community directly contributes and get paid a plus flywheel. One of the only win-win situations. Okay, yeah, no, that's cool. It's interesting. But yeah, Valor. No, it's all good, Swayze. I appreciate it, bro. But yeah, we're coming up on about an hour, 8 minutes. I'll hang out probably for 10, 15 more minutes, review some stuff. But Monad, let's talk about that. Monad. Let me just look at this real quick. Appreciate everybody sharing. Again, usually do these streams early on in the morning. But wanted to try out a new time today. Say what's up to my homies in Europe that might just be waking up. Typically, if you guys are pulling up, we do these streams 11 for now, Tuesdays and Fridays at 11 a.m. PST. Today, again, did it a bit different. For the most part, you can find me at 11 a.m. PST, Fridays and Tuesdays. Usually also do a Wednesday stream with my friend Jaden Levitt, also on Twitter. We'll talk about NFTs, crypto, a lot of other good stuff going on. And then Twitter Space usually on Thursdays as well, with a lot of homies on there. So if you ever wanted to come on and ask a question, chop it up live with myself or some of the other guys, definitely pull up to that. And then, like I said, a Friday stream. We will obviously Thursday is Thanksgiving, so we're not going to do it this week. But look for us again on Thursday for the Twitter Space here on X. What's your thoughts on Wojak running? Yeah, I want to talk about Monad first, but let me look at Wojak before I forget. Honestly, guys, I understand Wojak. I've read a bit about it. I know they like just another. I know there was already a Wojak, but I guess this one's really caught traction now. I think it is a popular meme. It does seem to have a big kind of movement going around it. But with that being said, it is 21 days old, so I haven't really looked at the supply distribution. I would say anytime something goes crazy like this while the rest of the market's down, you want to make sure to take profits on the way up. Because if Bitcoin were to bounce and roll over to the downside, you usually something like this is going to see a big pullback eventually. But with that being said, this is extremely impulsive. I don't see any signs of this stopping yet. But again, man, do not be afraid to take profits on the way up partially. But I mean, Wojak seems to be like the number one attention grabber right now. And the best case thing you can get is if Wojak were to correct from here, maybe see a little bit of a 20, 30, 50% correction and then bounce back. That's when it's really healthy. So, maybe if you're not in this yet, I would definitely not chase it, to be honest. It's just not my style. But if it were to give you something like this, a choppy little 30, 50% correction, I'd probably be a buyer. So yeah, Monad though. Monad actually, there's some interesting things to be said about Monad and kind of how they launched. 25. This is definitely not the correct Monad. Hopefully we can get a good one on TradingView. Should be good. Okay. So obviously not much price action for Monad. That's definitely not even the right one, right? Because isn't Monad up? Yeah. I'm just gonna go to CoinMarketCap. Monad obviously launched into a time where the market conditions are shitty, but it let me look at the chart. Okay, so no, it's this. This is it. Okay, so obviously Monad was down a bit. A lot of people were kind of fudding it, kind of just counting it out like most of these other airdrops. But as you can see here, since then it's about 2x off the lows and is holding pretty steady here. I think the reason why it's holding pretty steady is because they did do some airdrops. They did do like a pre-sale as well as airdrops. But what they also did is they did the first kind of ICO, at least in a long time, on Coinbase. And what this allowed on Coinbase is allowed for a lot of people who normally aren't on crypto Twitter or aren't going to normally buy or get an airdrop or to buy the coin to get exposure to it directly from Coinbase. And while this is not maybe ideal for somebody on CT who is hoping to get a bigger allocation or an airdrop, it allows for price to be distributed better. It allows for these coins to get into the hands of more people who are willing or likely to hold it versus in the hands of a few people who are willing to very likely to dump it, like most people do with airdrops or with allocations, right? So the fact that it's gone up like this, I think, is very bullish. As far as Monad, I think it's any of these L1s or new L1s. They have a lot to prove. I think AVAX and Sui and a lot of these other ones I'm bullish on. They've had many years in the game and they've had a lot of time to prove stuff. But Monad definitely has a lot of attention and a lot of backers and stuff on it, so I wouldn't count it out. It's not something I'm specifically really looking to buy heavy here at 4 billion market cap. But it's something that I'm keeping an eye on. And if we were to get some type of 25, 30, 50% correction, I probably would be a buyer. But for all I fucking know, this shit rips straight to 40. So I'm physically staying out of the coin, but I think it is important right now. I think it's important to note, though, that when you see coins like this go on these Coinbase ICOs, if they're a solid project, I think that's a bullish sign for the longevity and potential stability of a coin if it's getting into the hands of more people. So as far as playing anything on Monad, guys, like I'm really like I think I did really well this time of taking profits really aggressively. So I do have a lot of ample kind of capital and dry powder. But with that being said, I've been very picky on just buying the stuff that I know has just like a very high success rate and I have very high conviction in, and just doing less and less of playing with new meme coins and buying NFTs and some of these other kind of high risk behavior that I may be doing during times of good conditions, because especially when that kind of stuff is not my forte and my strength or where I have a crazy edge, it's just so easy to lose money during this time where I think SPX, Giga, Mog, fucking hype, Pump Fund, Uniswap, blah 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 are 5, 10, 15, 20 X's. If I park my money into those and I'm willing to wait a bit, I'm just really, unless there's like something really intriguing meme coin wise or some crazy NFT or whatever the fuck that I really feel like I'm really high conviction in, I'm not really playing anything on Monad right now. And you guys can let me know if there's anything in the chat. I'm sure there's some good stuff popping up. I'm probably fading something that I shouldn't be fading. But I've learned during this time that less is more as far as just like making trades and moves. And just being very thoughtful and intentional during these times. We already looked at Wojak. I'm not fading it. To be honest with you, I don't have any position in Wojak. I don't really like to buy things when they're straight pumping. But to be honest, like I said, Wojak is an outlier right now, and for all I know, like I hope it continues to go up like crazy. Wait, I forgot to. By the way, guys, we are on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, X. Obviously, most of you guys are on right now. Definitely check us out right now. You've been on this stream. You know, obviously the stream is free, and you know all that. If you want to, if you could, you know, show support in any way, I would appreciate if you guys go and shoot me a follow on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, everything that's on the top right there. Definitely going to scale up on all of those other platforms as time goes on. But yeah, always appreciate that. Stark. What are my views on Stark? I think Stark is one of the few L2s that I think really has a chance to bounce back hard here as well. My buddy Hemdog, shout out to Hemdog, is really bullish on this and has really been kind of shilling this to me a lot lately. I have been buying a bit, but again, what it really has going for it is it already had its big washout after the airdrop or after the pre-sale. Or after the coin dropped, and now it's been consolidating for 7 months. It's been consolidating for 7 months here, which again, always a great sign when a coin holds low for for multiple months if you're looking for a bottom. So I think when market conditions improve, I could see Stark doing something like this. Maybe chopping a little bit, and then the big confirmation is the close back above that 145K consolidation high, and then I think it's off to the races. You know, if you're really looking for an opportune entry, and it might not even give you this, but really is like this right here. This right here is if it goes back above that consolidation high, pulls back down at all, that would be an amazing, like really low risk entry. But we're probably good just accumulating it here. So Stark looks really good chart wise for sure. But yeah, if you guys could like, comment, retweet, share, all that good stuff. I'm gonna hang out for a bit longer, review some stuff. If you guys want me to look at anything, you have anything going on. Again, quiet ass times. But again, this is a feature, not a bug. We really want. I'm just reading something. These quiet ass times while they're not much going on. This is what we want to be seeing during these times. Again, if you just literally go back and look at these charts, guys, and I encourage everybody to do this. It really will help you, increase your strength and confidence and conviction, of these things when you look at what the past has done. And there's really signs and clues that these charts leave if you're paying attention to the right things. And one of the biggest things is consolidation being the biggest dead giveaway or the biggest marker of these correction lows. So the biggest thing, again, what we saw here, all of these corrections since this bull run started in 23, the biggest giveaway and the biggest sign is holding a low or consolidation before ending for multiple weeks before going up. So ETH, or for Bitcoin, for example, chopping here for another week or two, holding this 80K low would be really the final kind of confirmation before we move higher. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. So I think this boredom is actually bullish, and I think in the next few weeks leads to the reversal that we are kind of looking for. Are you still trading on Dex Screener? No, I'm not necessarily really. I don't trade on Dex Screener. I look at the Dex Screener chart, obviously charts. But I also want to show you guys, like I was talking about earlier, the 30K a month is dope, but save a majority of that money, invest in your health. But let's pull up Whatnot right now. Kind of close off. I'll hang out for another 5 or 10 minutes. Just to show you guys an example of the live social shopping. What?
I think only 100. I want to hold on.
Hold on, guys. Let me log in. All right. I'm going to show you guys an example of the live shopping I was talking to you about. I really think like outside of VeeFriends and NFTs, I think this live shopping thing is really going to take over on Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. You're probably going to start to see this. All your favorite biggest brands, they're starting to load it on Walmart, Amazon, all these different places. I think this is an example of it. Something that VeeFriends is doing, uh, where they're they're marketing these physical products as well as the NFTs directly to a new audience outside of crypto through this Whatnot and these other platforms. So whereas Pudgy Penguins, Bored Apes, um, Doodles, all these other great NFT companies have had these kind of, Web 2 collabs, like with NASCAR and DreamWorks and these different things. But very seldom does that directly correlate to new NFT collectors coming in, right? Because there's no direct gateway between, okay, Pudgy Penguin, Bear Brick collaboration, and then people actually going and grabbing a Pudgy Penguin NFT. Whereas Gary Vee has set up this pipeline through this kind of Web 2 platform where he's directly onboarding them into the NFTs. And I just don't see this happening in any other NFT projects. And right now, while NFTs are slow and everything, it may seem like it doesn't matter, just like the community thing I was talking about earlier. But once NFT conditions are good, it's easier for people to buy NFTs. People know what they are. The work that VeeFriends is putting in right now in setting up these pipelines is going to be the difference and what takes it right up there with the Pudgies and Bored Apes. So just wanted to show you guys this really quickly, what kind of live shopping is. I think you're going to see all your favorite, most of your favorite influencers, brands, a lot of these start to do this live shopping stuff and probably becomes a big part of society over the next few years.
Now,
Let's go.
What? Yeah, as you guys can see, 600 different people viewing on Whatnot. And it's kind of like this social experience, right? Like you get to have like a kind of a like streaming, people have paranormal or parasocial, relationships through the streaming. It adds like a buying element kind of directly where you can buy products directly from these, people directly through there. I think it's going to be something that we're going to see a lot of in and outside of crypto.
If you own a Series 2, everybody, it might be in the Rarible wallet. You didn't connect to VeeFriends yet. Go to VeeFriends.com.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Thanks for Stark Input, Bren. Saw you live on Instagram and I appreciate that. Yeah, I didn't mention it. I always forget to mention, but if you guys are on Instagram right now, we are live on X. That's where the kind of the home base is. So definitely, if you aren't following me on X, definitely shoot over there. But lately, the last few weeks, we have been streaming to Instagram live as well. So if you are a follower on there or randomly, see us there, definitely check me out on X as well. But shout out to everybody who is on Instagram. Appreciate you, Revan Dorian. I don't know what your name is. Let me see. It only shows me people's ats, guys, sometimes. Revan Dorian. What is his name? Revan Dorian. I recognize your PFP with the Moral Monkey, but okay, Revan Dorian base.eth. Okay, shout out to you, brother. Thank you so much for retweeting the stream. But yeah, let me know if you're on that. Let me know if you're on that VeeFriends stream tonight, bro. But yeah, shout out to you, Revan. Thank you for being here, bro. A lot of knowledge from your stream, Brent. Yeah, man. Just trying to keep it going. Again, normally do these streams on Tuesdays and Fridays, so the regulars who are probably caught off guard. If you're watching this replay, we are going to continue with the 11 a.m. Time frame. But again, just wanted to try out a different time tonight. Hang out with the homies. Again, not much going on, guys. I've found, again, like I said at the top of the show or a little bit ago, during these times, I found less is more. You still want to, what I can only tell you, again, by the way, I'm not a fucking guru, right? Like speaking as if, like I have the title up here that says how to exactly dominate, right? Part of that is, again, like to catch attention and all like that. But I want to preface this with that this is just what I've done to see success over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, my mindset, the way I do things may not fit for your goals or the way you do things, or your time availability or whatever. Though I do think my style of investing, buying and holding actually um, kind of works for maybe all people of all kind of time availability. But either way, I can only show you what's helped, what I've done in these past corrective periods or bear markets, what's brought me success on the other side. And what that's been is essentially sticking to a few core things, is continuing to stick around so I don't lose my edge. And what that consists of is not going on the fucking Bitcoin chart here and fucking staring at it for 10 hours. No, it's okay, checking the charts, whatever, do some chart review, maybe, look at the charts a couple times during the day to kind of to stay sharp on that. But then really is just like doing a lot of education, a lot of learning, dude. Like, again, that what separated me from coming into the industry at 21 years old, not knowing a damn thing, like I don't have a finance degree. I don't have even a family background of people who are into investing or anything. All this is stuff that I've self-taught from. The biggest thing is watching long form interviews and reading some stuff too. But these long form interviews um, from these different founders, experts in these different spaces, those are the biggest nuggets and what allows you to see into the future and see a lot of these things that point to where price is going to go. So, that's a big thing. Take the next, take every day and take 30 minutes to an hour. I know a lot of people have different schedules, but especially if you have more free time, take 30 minutes to an hour to 2 hours, however much time you have, and watch an interview. Like Bankless has great interviews on there. Thread Guy has a lot of different, especially if you're more of a trends trader and you want to learn how to do some of these, learn from the best in that area. He has a lot of guys, great guys in that area too. Really chart stuff. Looking at charts for 30 minutes to an hour a day, 30 minutes to 2 hours of education, and then just DCAing into great coins and being patient. It's really doing those 4 or 5 things during this time, whether we go straight back to all-time highs here or not. Again, I don't even think what I have here is the most likely scenario. I think what's most likely here, again, due to all the other checklist other than price right now, is I think we rip back to all-time highs. But of course, if we do fail to break above that 200 EMA and we go down here, like I said at the end of the show, guys, people talk about bear markets as if it's a fucking winter that lasts 5 or 10 years, 3 to 5 years. Even in the worst bear market in crypto, it's been a year, 12 or 13 months from top to bottom in 2018 to 2019. So Bitcoin topped arguably 1 to 3 months ago. So worst case scenario, Bitcoin comes back down here and follows the worst bear market we've ever seen. We're in this for another 6 to 9 months. Great. Would not be fun. I would fucking hate that. Obviously, it would not be fun. But at the same time, zooming out, are we really going to give a shit if it took 3 to 6 months later, if we're going to get the same outcome? And if anything, this down period will contribute to even more explosion to the upside. I'm willing to wait. I don't know about you guys. But yeah, DCAing, staying focused, educating yourself, networking. Right now, it's a little bit different. Reply guying is not really as optimal in the algorithm as it used to be, but still thoughtfully replying to people with witty, thoughtful, funny, whatever comments. When people follow you back, shoot them a DM, networking, really building, thoughtful relationships with especially people right now who are sticking around, tend to be long-term, thoughtful, cool people. And yeah, just those few things. You stick to that, man. There's a good chance you got a good shot. But with that being said, guys, there's not much else going on. It's getting pretty front of the kind of the quiet period on CT in general. But I love you guys, man. Honestly, I'm last few months, even though I've been in here for 10 years, it's been definitely taxing. More so just like not much going on and not much opportunity compared to 24 and 25, and it can be fucking monotonous. And even like I told you, like I'm willing to wait, even if it's 3, 6, 9 months at the worst, like whatever. But even that, just like the uncertainty in the back of your head is definitely not a fun time. But again, if we just look at all history and we just look at all the great things going on. I think it's obvious where crypto's fucking headed. I think meme coins have a big bounce back next year. I think the great movement coins. I think NFTs eventually get a run. I think there's a lot to be optimistic about. It's just the waiting game, like anything else. So, with that, guys, shout out to everybody continuing to stay involved. And I love every single one of you for coming on these streams. Like the fact that you sit here and listen to my fucking voice. I don't even have anything to look at. It's literally, like I said, a glorified Twitter space with me being able to share my screen. Like to have 70 on average, 70 to 150 viewers on here, concurrent viewers on here listening to my fucking voice every time. It's like the biggest honor in the world. Like 5-7 years ago, this is what I dreamed of, just having any type of platform to be able to share my thoughts. And honestly, I don't take it for granted. So the fact that you spend your time, you could be listening to fucking anybody right now or doing anything, you watching a TV show, you spending your time with me, I'm incredibly grateful. And love you guys for real. With that being said, I will see you guys on the next stream Friday. Hope everybody has a great rest of your week and holiday weekend. And stay safe. I'll see you guys on Friday. Oh, giveaway. Yeah. Thank you. Forgot I was going to do that after the stream. I'll go ahead and pick it from the comments real quick. Only 19 comments on here. You guys got a good shot. All right, I'm going to do it completely random. All right, let me make sure I didn't give this person giveaway already. Doesn't look like it. Maxwell, let me know if I don't think so, because I'm not following you back. I doubt that we've all right. The winner of the giveaway, randomly picked from the comments of the stream tweets, is Maxwell. I don't think you've won a giveaway before. Let me know if you have. But either way, brother, I really appreciate you for being on the stream. Shoot me your soul address after the stream, and I'll send you some USDC. Again, appreciate everybody who's on here. We'll have, again, another stream on Friday. And yeah, everybody have a great rest of your weekend. If you do celebrate it. But yeah, with that, guys, hope you have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you on the next.